let's move on to the linebackers and all the people that are watching right now. It's great. We have a full room, it looks like. Keep putting in your comments here. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're watching this today, tomorrow, we'd love to get your comments as well. So put your comments down there and give us a like if you like this. Give us a thumbs up. Linebackers, starting with Luke Reimer, senior, 6'1", 225. Nick Henrich, junior, 6'3", 225. So there's a lot of experience with those top two guys. Nick Henrich is going to be out in spring, so he's nursing injuries. And even Reimer, I think, is still nursing some injuries as well from last year. So, but those two guys have a lot of snaps under their belt. So no concerns there from an experience standpoint. Garrett Snodgrass, junior, 6'3", 220. Mikai Gbayor, sophomore, 6'2", 220. Randolph Kpai, sophomore, 6'3", 205. Seth Malcom, sophomore, 6'4", 215. And the two freshmen, Eric Fields, freshman, 6'2", 195. Dylan Rogers, freshman, 6'3", 240. One notable name here, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it, but it's from your high school, Dave. We don't have Houseman anymore. And so Houseman, who had jumped ahead of a couple of these sophomores that are on this list, he jumped ahead of them last year right away in his first year. He's transferred out and he's in Michigan now. And so I'd love to put a lovely spin on that, but I really don't know how to. I mean, he was somebody that we didn't lose a lot of game changers, I didn't think, after the coaching change. He's the one guy I really wish that we'd have back. But this is what we have right now to work with going into spring. And there's a lot of experience and there's a lot of talent. And there's some young guys that give you some excitement too.
Well, there's a good chance we'll see Houseman play in Lincoln this year.
Well, that's true.
Only would have a positive spin is if this was the Go Big Blue cast, right? I mean, literally, that's the only way to make this a positive. Switch, change the logos.
Yeah. Do it quick. Yeah.
Wear swabs when you need the guy, right?
He's pretty quick.
At least these names are familiar, right? I mean, we do have a lot more familiarity with these guys, Reimer and Henrich to start off. Got to stay healthy. They've got issues with that. Snodgrass, I feel like him and Nelson were up in the same recruiting class. But
yes.
It's just crazy that we just have not seen as much of Garrett Snodgrass. And hopefully that this year changes that. He could make a far more prominent role here for himself. And then there's some guys like Randolph Kpai, Seth Malcom. We've also been waiting, two Iowa guys, right, that we really want to see to pop. So, yeah, I mean, I think you've got some established starters. Hopefully you see some guys rise up to challenge them, and we've should be okay here.
Yeah, Kpai is a South Dakota kid. He's from Sioux Falls. And then
Very close.
And Malcolm's 8-man football from from Iowa. So small town kid there, but I mean, there's some talent in this room. And Snodgrass, he's a guy that intrigues me a little bit because I've brought him up in the past that, if it didn't work with him at linebacker here, he'd be one of those guys. We talk about fullback. I wouldn't mind seeing, if we need to build up a little bit of instant depth at that position, this is the time. Spring ball is the time when you do move some people around, but no doubt I'm guessing he'll get his first shot here at linebacker and get his chance to impress because he's probably an example of somebody who had been here for 3 or 4 years, probably kind of lost the eye of the coaches because he was getting passed over. Well, here's his chance now with some new coaches to try to see his way onto the field, especially with Reimer and Henrich not taking as many snaps here in the spring.
Yeah, another bunch of guys healthy, into the season. So,
Kpai is a guy that I think if you want to talk about the potential of the upside, it almost surprises me that either Houseman was that good, or I was kind of expecting Kpai to make the jump, and he was a year ahead of Houseman, so he'd have been in his second year last season.
Yeah,
I was kind of expecting him to do that. But look, I mean, if it takes him 3 years, if this year he plays at a level of what Houseman was playing a year ago, that would be a huge addition to this group. I mean, there's and again, if you're playing a 4-3, if you're playing a 3-4, this changes how guys are lined up and everything too. So alignment can change the look of this room quite a bit too, depending on where guys are playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the Houseman loss, I mean, I think you mentioned Mathis. He was the number one person in the transfer role like post spring though, right? It wasn't like actually like back in like December. That's what Hausman was. He was like 1 or 2 in the portal, like when everybody was in, right? And so that's how much his recruiting profile changed in 1 year playing at Nebraska. But to your point, I mean, I think these guys have the maturity and potentially some, at least the practice experience that they could flash in the same way.